जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
Islam.
Oh.
So I just had a word with Fatma. She's just joining. The plugin for GoToMeeting is taking some time, so she's just coming on board in like 1
आपको मेरी आवाज तस्वीर सही आ रही?
Yeah, it's all good. And I would also like to ask the audience if we are audible and you can see Badr. If you can, just put it in the chat box.
जी बिल्कुल ठीक है. So once we आप जब लाइव जाएंगे आप बताएंगे या अभी लाइव हैं हम?
Yeah, we are live.
Okay, live. Okay, ठीक. So audience का कैसे पता चल रहा है आपको? वो attendees आ रहे हो?
Audience, we have like 61 people, including both of us. So it's like 59 people are attending.
ठीक है. जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम everyone. Can you hear us? Can you see my video? If you have any, please, if you can share that in the chat section.
Oh yes, they can hear. A lot of people have commented in the questions section.
ये आपको कहाँ नजर आ रहे हैं? मुझे chat में नहीं नजर आ रहा.
This is in the questions section. It's right below webcam and audio.
But I don't see any questions. I don't have visibility. So just wanted. So you'll be reading those questions and comments and sharing with us.
Yeah, I'll be sharing, and what I'll do is I'll make you an organizer as well, so you will be able to see everything as well on your app.
G, now I can see that.
Yeah, now you can see. Okay, so Fatma has also joined.
Fatma की वीडियो मुझे नजर आई. अभी लाइव नहीं.
I think she'll be setting up.
Hello.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम. I
can hear you. Sorry, I had to do this on the phone because for some reason it won't download on my laptop, and it could be a problem from because it's my work laptop. So they might have
could
stopped.
Be a firewall issue or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how to do my camera from here, so you might have to not see me unless I can figure this out.
That's fine. Yeah. Maybe we can take a minute or so if Ali can help you figure that out.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see. I've been able to connect to the audio.
Can you see my video?
Yeah, I can see your video.
Okay.
Okay.
So it has a webcam. So it doesn't say video, it says webcam.
Yeah, so I just sent you a request, Fatma.
Where?
Over here, I sent a webcam request so that you can turn on. Maybe you will get a notification.
I'll see if I get a notification. Otherwise, we'll just have to do it without video. I'm so sorry. I thought it was GoToMeeting, but it's GoToWebinar, which is different from GoToMeeting.
It's actually the same company.
So it should work.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Same company.
It will be like in the audio video maybe.
It just gives me the option of screen, audio, questions, and settings. And when I go to settings, it does not have anything. It just has the webinar information. And then when I go to myself, it just says give your name and email address, which I've done. And then it does not give me a video option. I'm sorry. Maybe we could start like this, and in the meanwhile, I'll keep trying to figure this out side by side. Sorry, guys.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. So we'll start. Thank you everybody for joining today's session, and I hope that you guys learn more about the tech side of Pakistan. So we have Fatma Mazhar on the call with us and Badr Husnood. Fatma is one of the leading names in the tech sector. She is currently the general manager for Keep Truckin's international offices. Fatma oversees operations while working with teams distributed around the world. Prior to Keep Truckin, she was the head of expansion and founding member of Careem. And then from there she launched Careem in new markets across Middle East, North Africa, Pakistan, and Turkey. And Fatma also holds an MBA from MIT. Badr is the co-founder and vice president of growth at Bremers. He's also the vice president of growth at fishery.com. And for over a decade, Badr has consulted for Google, Facebook, and Twitter as their first person on ground in Pakistan. He is also an active member of PASHA, which is Pakistan Software House Association. Badr is leading the private sector narrative at the National E-Commerce Council, which is reporting directly to the Prime Minister. So, Badr, I'll hand it over to you. And to start off, I would like to, for the audience to ask a question around why does Pakistan seem as an attractive market for all these big tech companies? And why do they want to sort of explore or expand into Pakistan?
So sorry. So Ali, is this question for Fatma?
I mean, it's for you to ask.
Okay. अच्छा ठीक है जी बिल्कुल. जी अस्सलाम Fatma. I hope, thank you Ali first of all for hosting both of us and giving the opportunity to host Fatma. Interestingly, this is my first time with Fatma as well in terms of connecting, so I'm also learning. Fatma, Ali did introduce you, and would you like to add something to your introduction before we jump on to the questions and the deep dive of the conversation?
So I think he did a really good job, and I apologize to everyone who's listening. I don't have my I have some tech issues coming from the tech background. That's really, really bad. But you can't see me. I'm trying to figure that out. But I think the only thing I'd add is that bringing Careem to Pakistan was the first time I'd come to Pakistan in about, I think, 15 years, because I'd lived abroad before that. And that also I was in and out, but Keep Truckin is the first time that I've actually moved to Pakistan. And I just want to say it's because of the talent that I saw in Pakistan when I was working at Careem that I was like, oh my God, I can learn so much from everyone in Pakistan. So yeah, the only thing I'd add is that I've moved to Pakistan full time after being away for about a good 15, 16 years away. Yeah, other than that.
That's great. Yeah, please go ahead. Sorry.
I said that's it. That's all I would add to my introduction.
Okay, perfect. So Fatma, I'd like to understand a little bit, and I think this would be helpful. So we'll go to the actual topic of challenges and the opportunities for tech companies. We'll just pivot and kind of funnel to that slowly. So just want to, in the interest of everyone's learning, would love to understand your growth journey from finance intern or to Careem and then Keep Trucking. I mean, how was the journey? Was it very smooth sailing? Were there any challenges? Would love to have a kind of a brief learning from there as well.
So good question. It was anything but smooth. And the fact that it went from finance to logistics to tech finally is an indication of I had no idea what I wanted to do. I picked up finance because I thought at some point in time I'd heard that it's only men who do finance. So I thought, oh, I'll just go into finance to prove that I can do finance. But it was really boring for me. It was sitting in one place, didn't really resonate with me. So I think when I was in finance, the financial crisis happened. So I went into logistics, which was my first foray into a startup. The startup kind of tanked. I went into another startup and that tanked. And so I've had experience of going through a bunch of failures to reach to Careem. Now, how I went to Careem was I had I was talking to a friend and I was telling them, sorry, I think I was just able to connect. I was telling them that, sorry, can you see me now?
Not yet.
Sorry guys, 1 second. I think I'm
Now
just getting in.
I think I can see a camera enabled at your end. Yeah.
And can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, this is perfect. I'll just leave from here.
Now we can't hear you, Fatma. We can see you. I think you're on mute on your, possibly on your desktop. So we'll need to, yes, now it's green.
There you go.
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, we're there.
Finally.
Okay, so as I was going through a bunch of failures at startups that didn't quite work out, I was talking to a friend and he told me about Uber, and he said with my background in logistics and my interest in event logistics, that would be a good place.
So
I
even
searching.
before Kareem, sorry to interrupt you, but so even before Kareem, you were in the logistics industry.
I was doing something called event logistics at this startup that I was working at. And event logistics was the CEO that I worked with had figured out that Dubai has a bunch of events. I was living in Dubai, and the pain point is holding logistics for them. So I'll give you an example of the kind of logistics that I worked on. So Dubai World Cup is a horse race. It's the most expensive horse race that happens. Sheikh Mohammed, who's the country head of UAE, brings in 500 friends / investors every year from around the world to come and see this event and see Dubai. And our company, our tiny little company, was called Iman Logistics, got the contract to do the transportation for those 500 guests. So over a course of 7 days, we would provide 24/7 transportation with a fleet of about 100. It was 100 BMWs the first year, 100 Cadillacs the next year, that I would get from different providers and kind of help sort this out. I did the same for the Formula One. For any concerts that happened. So I was in the logistics business of trying to get, and it was a very profitable business. The margins are huge and nobody really wants to focus on the logistics. Unfortunately, that company was involved in a lot of things and then suddenly it didn't do so well. So I was doing really well in logistics. They called me the bus girl in the small event circle. So they'd be like, that bus girl Fatma, call her, because I provide all this transportation. So I was talking to a friend and he said, hey, Uber's coming to Dubai. It would be a great company for you to work at. So while I was looking at Uber and trying to get them, this was back in 2013, this name Kareem kept popping up. And so I started looking at Kareem, and I looked at their co-founders. So one was Mudassir Sheikha, who, for the rest of my life will be the person that I admire the most professionally. No one can top that. And the other was Magnus, who's a close second to a person that I admire the most. And Mudassir was Pakistani. I resonated with that. Magnus, there was this whole story about how he came to the Middle East to work and then fell in love with this Palestinian American woman and made Middle East his home. And that kind of resonated with me. I was like, why don't I email them? I emailed them the same day. They called me for an interview the next day. And they were very, very small. There were less than 15 people. And so I just went and talked to them. And Mudassir and Magnus had so much passion. Not Mudassir as much, Magnus. He was just so excited, and I'd never felt that excited in my life about anything. Maybe like horse riding that I love. And so I was like, I really want to work with this guy. So lesson number one to everyone who's listening, I did not choose a company, I did not choose a sector, I did not choose a pay, because they were only able to give me a place in their in their support team as picking up calls for the customers. So I gave up my cushy job and I said, I want to work with Magnus and Mudassir. They promised me that if I stay with them, I'd grow as the company grows, and the rest is history. So yeah, I worked with them. And then I think after being the head of expansion, which meant I launched a lot of cities, I was a little burnt out. Working in startups is not easy. Anything in 1 year, I think equates to at least 3 years. So I'd been with the company for 4 years, 6 months, and I said I wanted to take a sabbatical or leave or take a break. And Mudassir said he'll give me a sabbatical, which he hadn't done before, for a year, and to choose wisely what to do. So I opted for an MBA. And I went to Salon. I got my MBA, which I highly recommend. An MBA is a degree I highly recommend just for the networking that you can do, even in Pakistan, anywhere in the world. And then while I was at Sloan, Uber acquired Careem. And I, this is my personal opinion. I felt like I wasn't too happy with the decision. I think everyone has their own opinion. I think it was a great thing for us. I think it spoke to the wonders of everything we built together. But I was in love with Careem and the idea of Careem. And so while I was at MIT, somebody that I'd worked with at Careem was at Keep Trucking and reached out to me and said, hey, there's a position for a GM. Do you think you'd be interested? I was like, why not? Let's give it a try. And that's how Keep Trucking came into being. And I talked to Ubaid Khan first, who is the co-founder. Absolutely fell in love with his passion, his ideology, and then subsequently met a lot of people, but Shoaib Makhani and his ideas about the talent in Pakistan and how he cares about people. And there are people that say that they care about their employees. There are people who mean it. He's one of the people that actually means it, and that's how the company runs. It's a very diverse company. They focus on diversity. They focus on equality, and it's a testament to how great a company it is that they took a female and made her the GM in Pakistan of 1,000+ people. That's my journey.
Perfect, excellent. I was just so the last sentence, I'll pick it up from you. A woman as the leader for the Pakistan operations. My next question was actually leading to the same point as to what challenges, especially in a tech environment, have you experienced both since you've worked in the Middle East, you have worked and where you had a Pakistani founder again, and you I think interestingly you had the other company as well, which is now in the US, but again a Pakistani founder. So interesting coincidence. But how has you been experienced as a woman leader within the tech space? Because I understand for Careem you were working based out of Dubai, but for Keep Trucking you've been fully working out of Pakistan. So would love to understand as a woman your journey and your challenges in these tech companies, not specifically from a very specific tech, from a very company specific perspective, but a generic ones. So I want to remain company agnostic and want to focus more on your personal experiences there.
So,
and sorry, in the meantime, I want the audience, we have about 100+ people right now connected. I would love to, for the audience to please share their any specific questions. Let's not focus on companies where Fatma has worked, but focus on her learnings and her experiences. And if there are any specific questions, thoughts you guys want to share, please do. You can ask the questions in the questions section of it, and I'd love to pick it up, Ali, and I can then shortlist some of the questions and ask Fatma as we move along. Sorry, Fatma, please go ahead.
Okay, so I think if you'd asked this question of me about 2 to 3 years ago, I would have a really different answer. I'd say, oh my God, I had so many challenges. I wasn't taken seriously, or I had to struggle to get to where I am, or I had to work 10 times harder to where I am. But then I went to MIT, and there's a lot of, so the good thing about MIT or an MBA degree from MIT, and this is my plug for MIT, is that there's a lot of self-reflection courses that you get. And I took a lot of them because I wanted to grow as a person. I can tell you straight off, working at a startup will teach you more than any degree that you can potentially get. My idea of getting a degree from MBA is wo thappa lagna hota hai. And that's being as honest as I can. As a woman, I wanted that. As a professional that wanted to go ahead in her career, I wanted that. And the network that you get, and obviously the fun that you have in the year. But the learning that I've had at Kareem and the learning that I'm having at Keep Truckin' can never be substituted anywhere else. That's real hands-on training. So I did a lot of self-reflection. So I don't know if a lot of women are listening in, but if they are, women, there's science on this, there's data on this, have something called the imposter syndrome, where they always think that they're not good enough, or they feel like they are doing something and somebody will catch them and find out that they're not good enough. And this is scientifically proven. Somebody like Sheryl Sandberg talks about it a lot. She's like an icon for women. And so I started thinking about, did the challenges that I think, were they self-inflicted, or did I actually have them? And I'm not saying that they're not challenges. I think that for every job, if they could choose a guy, they probably would. And I don't mean they in the tech industry, I mean everywhere. But I really feel like that's changing. And I think like if you work hard and if you don't sometimes play in your mind, not outside, the woman card, and stand and start selling yourself. One thing I've seen is women are very hesitant to sell themselves. They're very hesitant to talk about how good they are. They're very hesitant to boast about their accomplishments. I had a hard time writing my MIT essay. I had to get help from my friends, because even in writing, I could not write down all the accomplishments that I have. From the outside it looks. So to all the women who are listening, it is not easy, but if you accept that you're good, and if you work hard, and if you're willing to sell yourself, and talk about these, I promise you the journey will be easy. My journey has been really easy, and I think I don't want to talk about companies, but both Kareem and Keep Truckin', they valued hard work over anything else. So like, I think they were able to give a platform to a woman. I did fight for it. I did want a position. I did ask for it, but there's one thing to get it, there's one thing to keep it, and keeping it is the hard part once you get the position. And that depends on making sure that you're working really hard and you're honest to your job.
Okay, perfect. So Fatma, I'll now like to kind of move the same question to a company level. Again, not specific to any company, but generically as to what are the challenges for tech companies. So there are different use cases or scenarios we are talking about here. So you've worked for a Pakistani, you're currently working for a company which is actually based out of US, but has back office in Pakistan, which you are managing. Then you have worked for a company which has a Pakistani founder, has operations in Pakistan, but also in a nearby region, Middle East, and was later acquired by Uber as well. And so keeping that in view, what do you think are the challenges for tech companies in Pakistan, both from, so there are three categories, I think, where you can take this question to. One is from a startup perspective, two from companies based out of Pakistan who are already established and trying to do some back office work or get customers as servicing companies from abroad, and three as established product companies. So feel free to take to any direction, whichever you feel appropriate. But so same question in terms of challenges for tech companies, and again, not specific to any company, but generically what you have experienced so far. And are you seeing any improvement?
Yeah,
I think that's even an important question here.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about improvement.
Fatma, you've lost your audio. I can't hear you, sorry. For the audience, can you hear Fatma? Would appreciate if you could just let us know in the questions box as well.
I think we lost her. Yeah.
We lost her. Fatma, I can see your video, but I can't hear you. Yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, I also lost you for a bit. Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I think like thinking back to Kareem, when we wanted to register Kareem, it took a while here. One, they did not know how to classify us. I don't know if we still can classify somebody as a tech company. That's the first thing.
I think we have a few startups and young people. Maybe you can deep dive a little bit into this question. I think this comment, this remark of classification. This is actually very interesting. If you can deep dive a little bit into it.
So when Kareem came into Pakistan, they wanted us to be a taxi company, and we weren't a taxi company. So then they wanted us to be an IT company, and we weren't an IT company. We were a tech company that had a software. We were a marketplace. So the importance of registering falls under what kind of taxations that your company has to forgo, what kind of rules come in. With Keep Truckin', I was surprised to see that we were classified as a call center. And that's really unfortunate because yes, we have a large sales team, but some of the best work is done by my engineering team here. They're incredible. We have a complete R&D team here that is coming up with solutions, and this is what Keep Truckin', that is coming up with remarkable AI and machine learning stuff. And we're classified as a call center sometimes. So we're working on reclassification, and I know that will get sorted, but there needs to be something that classifies us as a tech company. Or
so it was a legislative and a policy level issue in Pakistan as to how companies are being classified.
For sure. And I think like if you're a startup, if you're categorized as in a certain industry, from day one, you're starting to pay like the kind of taxes or withholding tax or sales tax that you shouldn't. The government should be very open to having startups come in that are maybe under a startup banner and have to pay little taxation until they get to a certain point, pay more taxation. So I think that was a problem. And the process of registration, for the love of God, it takes so long. Why do you think Mudassir Sheikha went to Dubai? I mean, that's not the reason why he went to Dubai, but if it was easier, how easy is it to register a company in UAE? You can do it, sitting on your computer. I don't know how many times you have to go back and forth in Pakistan. I know that something as registering a provident fund is really hard. It's necessary. Every company needs to have a provident fund, but it takes 20,000 people to register a provident fund. So I think startups need to our startup community needs to like put some pressure on the government to maybe look at what UAE is doing, what the US is doing, or other companies that are favorable, because they don't want to lose our talent. Our talent is going abroad because startups are it's much easier. And I'm sure there's other challenges, getting space. I know there's a few incubators that are doing a great job. But have you seen how outrageous the rent is? Could we have spaces that are like a startup city, like a media city where a lot of people can come and have offices together? Those kind of things are really missing. So it becomes really challenging.
Okay.
And I think just with money transfer as well, if you want to transfer money between countries, that's an issue as well. There's tons of.
If I classify, this would be an ease of doing business issue, which is more challenging than the actual talent issue or anything else. So yeah, I can relate to it, and I can tell you that from Pasha perspective, these are the battles we are trying to fight within the current status quo system, because most of the system was not made for tech companies. It was made for very traditional companies. So I think it's taking us a while to get all of those things sorted out one by one. And that's exactly what we are doing as me leading the e-commerce conversation with the ministry. That's exactly what we're doing for e-commerce as well, because the pace of legislation and policy and any governance has to be at the same pace with the business as well. So I can certainly understand and relate to that. While we move to the next question, which I had in my mind, there's one interesting question from Waqas Salam Saab. And what he's asking is how a finance professional can update him or herself as far as tech knowledge is concerned. So since you've been into finance, how do you keep yourself updated with the tech knowledge, tech stuff? I know this is a little more personal than our agenda for today, but would love you to share a few thoughts there as well.
So I think if you want to keep updated, that's not a problem. That you can read about all over. But if you're talking about like maybe a career change, all tech companies need finance professionals. I think that would be a first step. Like if you're a finance person, start looking for a role for finance. I know that without our finance team in Pakistan or in the US, we would not be able to survive at Keep Truckin'. My finance team is incredible. So the first step would be to go into a finance role into a tech company. And the one good thing about tech companies, especially startups, so they're so open to you learning and moving around in roles. They're not very stuck on, at least early stage startups, they're not very stuck on, oh, this is your background, this is all you can stick to. At Careem, I did 5 different roles before I decided that I wanted to be the head of expansion. My background was finance and maybe some logistics. But Mr. Wakas it was?
Yeah, it was
or
Wakas. Wakas Salam. Wakas Salam.
If you are thinking of moving into a tech organization, or if you want to do that shift, just take a finance role and then see whatever is available. We do a lot of, at least at Keep Trucking and in Careem, we had a lot of internal opportunities. You could learn a lot, you could be part of projects. So they're very agile. And if you do want to keep up to date on tech news, just follow a few companies and you'll know everything on the news. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. So Fatma, I'd like to. So I think we all understand the challenges we have in Pakistan. We all face it every day. Some of us, and more, some less. And mostly these are around ease of doing business. So fully understand the challenges from getting the companies registered. Although SCCP has been progressive, they are coming up with a sandbox system as well, so that the new business models can be can work with SCCP for better understanding of SCCP's teams, and then they can legalize or formalize that into the new legislation as well. Similarly, State Bank has been trying to come up with better legislation, lesser friction, more operational efficiency and all of that part. But there are several other public sector organizations that need to catch up faster, and we need to certainly improve that. I'd like to understand some of the opportunities you see. Maybe you can deep dive into specifics, both again from different perspectives. One for personal growth. I'd like you to share what our current young generation who are recent graduates or startups, how can they upskill themselves? What would you share with them? 1. 2, what do you think are the opportunities for startups? Are there any ideas which are still not we haven't solved tons of problems? Any problems you think need urgent or immediate attention and not being focused by anyone else? Or if there are any back office operation opportunities for companies in Pakistan, for companies in the West, where the cost of doing the same thing is far more higher. I would love to understand any opportunities you have in mind for Pakistani tech companies, and or how they can pivot or morph themselves. And this is especially in the COVID situation or the post-COVID era, which is the new normal we are all considering. Fatma, we have again lost your voice.
Request, see if I can get to the one. I'm not.
Yeah, now we can hear you.
I think. Can you hear me again?
Yeah.
I don't know why that happens. I don't touch anything.
I know, but maybe there's a security feature which disables your mic.
So let's start with the maybe. So starting with the startups. So I've been working with NIC Islamabad. I was part of one of their panels, and since then I had so much fun that they've been very kind to invite me. And there's a lot of startup ideas that are coming up. It is, you froze.
Oh, I can hear you. I can see you. Yeah.
So there's a vast array of startups that are coming up that I'm really excited about, and I hope they all get funding and they go well. I also am looking at Eye2Eye, which is Kulsum Lakhani's venture, where I keep a really close eye. She's a friend on the kind of startups that they're mentoring. So I don't think there is something that's missing. I just think that funding is the thing that's missing. I think, how do we get funding into Pakistan? How do we encourage people or tell people that it is a good idea funding in Pakistan? I know slowly it's coming. And I think more relying on digital. I think with Corona, I realized that there was a lot more in Pakistan that I didn't know. I was just so lazy about things. So I can get my laundry done. I can deliver my groceries. I can get my food delivered. I can get somebody to come to my house to do my hair. all of these things kind of popped up after COVID. So the talent is there. Like I don't have to leave my house for anything unless I want to, which I don't. I got my movers online because I had to move out of apartments. Just all of these little things are in Pakistan. In terms of personal growth and people graduating, I think there's a lot of things that people can do, but I think one thing that when you graduate, just don't focus on the one thing that you want to do. I think you're so young. Let yourself learn. Take every opportunity. Whether it's an internship, like my first job, the finance job, was a 6-month internship. And after 6 months, they said, oh, we don't have the budget right now. Could you please do another 3 months of internship because we like you? Maybe after 3 months, we could get you a job. I did that internship for another 6 months. Now, I do understand that not everyone has the resources to be able to do this. And I was lucky that my internship was a paid internship. But if you've lasted this long, studying and stuff, another 6 months wouldn't be harmful. That's number one. Number two, don't say no to anything. Like if you don't know how to do it, learn how to do it, because you're just starting out. And the third thing is, there's always that question of being a big fish in a small sea and a small fish in a big sea. And I've never worked for an organization that has been huge. I've always worked for organizations that have been small, that have kind of grown into something or failed. And I would rather take that failure than be part of something big, because the learning is incredible. So I think focus on the kind of people that you want to work for. Look at culture. I know that culture is not, that's another thing I would want Pakistan to look into. People should know what a culture means. I have chosen companies for culture and for people, and I say this all the time. And in Pakistani organizations, I don't know.
Sorry to interrupt you, but maybe feel free to explain a little bit as to what would be a conducive culture or something which you think should be general part of companies in Pakistan.
So I think one of the big things about culture is it a culture of transparency? Is it a culture of having an open door policy? So the first thing, when you have an open door policy, everyone has a voice. I think, yes, you want to have hierarchies, that's fine. You want to have, somebody has to report to somebody, but that ability of everyone having an equal voice to be able to say something is really important. Respect amongst each other, a focus towards diversity, a focus towards, no kind of discrimination or bias because of certain religion, certain ethnic look, or all of this. This is what a culture is all about. That you're there to work. There's no politics. Oh my God, if I could take politics out of the workspace, if there's one thing I would take out, it's politics. So I think look for that. But as a young person, develop patience, develop an ability to work really hard and not expect reward. And the last thing I'd say is don't grow up too soon, which means as a kid, we tell you to please be a child longer because you're going to be an adult. As a person that's joining the workplace, please, please, please take your time to want to be a manager. Take your time to want to be promoted, because once you get promoted, then it's not about you, it's about your team, it's about the people you manage and their problems and their mother's problems and everyone's problems. So focus on learning as much as you can and growing as much as you can as a person, as your skills, before you ask for a promotion.
Good point.
Or go towards that goal.
Sure. So again, before coming back to you guys who are there, who are listening as part of the audience, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate that you guys are there. Please do share specific questions to the topic. Our topic for today is challenges and opportunities for tech companies in Pakistan. So please do share specific questions and thoughts, which we can also share with Fatma and have her thoughts as well. So please do share specific questions. And Fatma, just I used to be Google's consultant back when Shoaib was there at Google as well, though we didn't get a chance to work together. So we have had few interactions post Google, both of us, but yeah. And then I have a few good friends working with Keep Trucking from Ali to Awais and everyone, they're there. So I mean, I've seen Keep Trucking really grow. like from the idea stage to now a super good funded company and growing. So I mean, I've really seen that growth. I, I'm putting you in a difficult situation now. Just a heads up. So what would you recommend? So maybe a softer question first and then the hard one later. What would you recommend tech companies in Pakistan to do if if we want more companies like Keep Trucking as a US company to have their back office in Pakistan? What would be the top 3 things or top 5 things you would pick up you would want to be changed or improved in Pakistan to attract companies, more companies like Keep Trucking?
Oof.
I know, a difficult question. A little. Feel free to have a thought around it.
So I think the first thing I would go towards
And I will consider those 3 things as the opportunities. These are the gaps. So think of them as gaps which we can fulfill, and if then our companies can probably benefit more from both from US or other Western countries.
So you're saying that these companies already exist and they'd get acquired by tech companies in the
Possibly, yes, that could be one. So M&A could be one opportunity. The other could be back office partnerships, that there's a front end company in the US and they have a back office in Pakistan, like Keep Trucking. So the R&D, the ops, sales, those things which can be done here can be done here. So more like matchmaking between Pakistan and other developed countries where there is already demand, but the cost of operations in Pakistan is cheaper. So more like an arbitrage wherever. So not necessarily just Keep Trucking or not necessarily US, but anywhere we can. Maybe it could be Singapore or the Europe or any other region as well. Maybe even if it's for UAE-based companies or Middle Eastern companies as well.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. First of all, I Keep Trucking. I tell everyone repeatedly that we are the front office and they're the back office. So US is the back office. Just FYI, okay. Pakistan's the front office.
Sorry, and thanks for the correction.
No. This is something that I actually believe. I believe that. So at Keep Trucking, I can't disclose numbers, but I would tell you that Pakistan brings in significant amount of revenue. Our engineers bring in significant expertise to our product, and we've got a sales team, we've got a support team. The support team is the reason why we're differentiated from a lot of people. So I think one of the things that so first, before any company, the government needs to do a probably a PR / I don't know, a marketing scheme or something that talks about
country image.
So one of the biggest things, so we have a lot of delegates that come from the US to PK. That's what excites me most. Before COVID, at least every month, at least somebody from the US would be here working with the team and getting to know the team and kind of exploring Pakistan. And I think it can happen. And they felt very comfortable. There's a few that wouldn't come. That's fine. There's news. So I think one, PR as a company. Second, for all the companies that are working here, I've heard this a lot, by the way. वो तो US वाले हैं, वो तो dollar में कमाते हैं, तो उनको जो मर्जी charge करो. Just be honest. I don't know how much to stress this. Like, you need to be honest, and you need to be honest to work. And I think you need to understand that if a company is in the US and the company is here, there's a time difference, and you can actually do whatever you want. So as an honest people, if we're able to portray ourselves there, that's number one for me. That's number two for me. So please be honest, showcase your work.
So ethical practice is important.
It's very, very important, yes. And then thirdly, I think would be possibly, do we have copyright infringement laws in Pakistan?
Yeah, we have. May not be as I mean, the laws are very strict, but their implementation is weak, and I think that's an opportunity we can certainly improve on. So in IP, intellectual property, labor, I think those kind of laws are there, but they certainly need few improvements, but they are there, and that's an opportunity. And data, I think data protection would be is something which you're working on.
Data protection, yeah, 100%. So I think one of the things that I do, so I don't think it's the companies, I think the talent is there, the people are there, I think it's the country. The country has to do a lot, and I don't know who's going to do it. And when I
sorry, Fatma, I've lost your voice again. Can you unmute and unmute yourself again? Maybe that might work. Can they? Yeah, now I can hear you again.
Okay. Yeah, I think it happens for a few seconds. So I think your question, I did get it. I think one of the biggest challenges, or the biggest challenges, come from the country. So maybe all the companies can get together and start talking to the relevant people to see how we can change a lot of things. The talent is there. You should, sometimes I wish I could bring out the people that talk about the talent in Pakistan. I get goosebumps when like the US team or the other teams are talking about how talented and how happy they are with or how hardworking they are. They tell me I never sleep. They tell my team members you never sleep. We're always available. We're always excited about work. So I think if the companies get together and the country gets its act in order, I promise you there's be a lot more M&A companies moving here. Why wouldn't they? We have an abundance of talent. And our rates are very reasonable for international companies.
Perfect. So, so this will lead to my next question, which was a little harder than the last one. I know that last one was pretty wide and deep as well. So, if you were the Prime Minister of Pakistan for a day, what would you do to change our probably couple of $1 billion or few $1 billion of exports of IT services to maybe multiply it by like 10x or 100x? So you are the Prime Minister of Pakistan for a day. You have all authority to bring about the change. What would you do? Sorry for putting you in a difficult question scenario. But I mean that I mean you know the opportunities. Yeah, you're the Prime Minister. What would, or maybe what one thing or what three things you'd pick up? So let me give you one easy answer, which you already mentioned, which is the PR. So I understand you'll fix Pakistan's image in international media as much as possible, because that would help us bring in more delegates and hence more conversion in terms of more work and more mergers and acquisitions. Fully understand that. I think that's the first thing I'd also pick up. Anything else you'd also like to pick up as a Prime Minister of Pakistan?
Yes, I would create a tax-free zone where all startups could start up. They would have all.
So we call them special technology zones, STZs.
What?
So that's what Pasha has proposed to the government. Special technology zones, more like the Dubai Media City and that kind of thing. If I'm not wrong, that's what your idea is. A tax-free, tech-only zone, and more like campuses and all of that all together. One window operation with all public services, and you just focus on your work and innovation and R&D and everything. Okay. So that's a special technology zone. Okay.
That's what I would start.
Okay. One more thing you still need to pick up. Would you like to pick up something for women in Pakistan, women in tech in Pakistan?
Probably, I would say that all tech companies need to have gender diversity. So 50% female founders, 50% female on boards, and 50% females in your management. Equal rights.
So this means we'll, okay, that's interesting. Anything else? You were about to say something, maybe I just picked on that thing, if you wanted to add anything else.
So I think one of the things that's happening is
not three things alone.
Yes, I would stop all import duties.
So you want open imports,
Yes.
or you want to
When
grow
stuff
exports?
comes in, I don't want to.
Okay.
I want to
So
grow
you don't want to.
exports, but I also want to make. Yeah. Yeah.
So
But I think what's happening.
there's one
Yeah.
I would say agreement which is called ITA by the WTO, World Trade Organization. It's an ITA agreement which Pakistan is considering accession to, and that would lower or zero in on all import duties for tech stuff, so that people can
Yes.
can so that we can minimize any frictions in terms of digital literacy and digital equipment and anything, so people can become more digitized. So that is one thing which Ministry of Commerce is already considering and is right now having conversations with the stakeholders on accession to ITA.
So
So yeah, okay.
I
So
would
are you
take.
specific? You would take lead on that?
Yes, because like anytime we have to do something to test some equipment or do something, first it takes forever, and then it's stopped in clearance, and then you have to talk to some clearance guy and stuff, and just like, I would love to have Amazon in Pakistan, but it's
Okay.
not there, and so I have to call Amazon, and just some simple things like I
Okay,
order
let
from
me give you a
Amazon.
little update there as well. Sorry for interrupting you so occasionally.
I really like it. I'm getting all excited.
Yeah. So since I'm leading the private sector narrative on e-commerce with the Ministry of Commerce, and we got our first e-commerce policy as a country in October 2019, and part of that was to grow our all of this cross-border e-commerce as well. So as one of the initiatives, the ministry worked out with through formal channel, and we are right now in an experimentation stage with Amazon. So there's a select group of exporters of Pakistan, top exporters, who have been shortlisted, and they are now working with Amazon team. So on an experimental basis to open up merchant base from Pakistan directly. And once that experiment is completed, then it will be open to other merchants as well, SMEs and everyone. And then, of course, I think Amazon will reconsider opening up for the rest of the market. But I mean, there's no word from Amazon on that in that sense. But just giving you a kind of an update that yes, we are formally engaged with Amazon on that, and we're trying to have an experiment there. So yeah, that wish is also coming true soon, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
That is awesome. So you know what? I should have done this a long time ago. I would have known that there's all this that exists. But I really feel like if you're a tech company and you have a product that you are working on, if you're a SaaS-based company and you need to test out that product, it shouldn't be a problem that it comes in. So yes,
Agreed.
just a tax-free zone for tech companies, that would be the dream for Pakistan. And you would
Especially
see,
R&D and all of that.
you would see,
yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think that would just, there's so much talent. My mind is bowled over by the talent, and I've lived in different places. I've not seen this concentration of talent ever before.
Okay, one more question from an audience from again another participant, Mohammed Wakas, and that's about data science skills. How are you seeing a potential opportunity for data science graduates and data science skill set people in this space? If you have any thoughts around that.
Yes, so when I went to MIT, I focused on two areas: data analytics, data science, and personal development and kind of introspective thinking. And the reason why I did that was data is the future. There are no decisions that are made before data. In front of my eyes, marketing changed from a creative field to an extremely data analytical field. I saw a lot of our decisions made at Kareem and Keep Trucking on data. You have to keep experimenting to grow as a company. Those experiments are based on data. So I think in about 5 to 6 years, this will be the most important thing, and having that skill, coding and data analytics. Those are two skills that I keep working on the side. I keep trying to learn more and more, because without these two, so for me,
Perfect. So when you say coding, we have another question around Python and R or any languages. Would you recommend anything, any technologies, current stack, which you would recommend to startups or young graduates?
Look, so it depends on how deep you want to go. So I did R because R is very basic. R is a counterintuitive coding language that gives you the instructions and you just need to learn that. Python, I believe, is a lot deeper. So it depends on what you're going to do. If you're going to be in a data science team, yes, go for Python. If you're going to be an engineer, Python. If you're just going to be somebody who is probably going to be a general manager or is going to be somebody that's a generalist, maybe go for R. But by no means am I an expert. If somebody from my engineering team looks at this or my previous engineering team, they'd probably laugh at me. But at MIT, for classes like digital marketing, which I found really interesting, I would use R. But for like deeper classes, I think some people were using Python. And it also depends on how good you are. It's not for everyone. It took me forever. I learned everything fast, but coding took me forever to learn. And I am still not very good at it.
I can imagine that. Fatma, before we wrap up, I think we have a few minutes left. So again, putting you in a role play situation, sorry for a challenging one, but if you were to now kind of jump into your own startup, take that leap of faith and start your own startup, now you're based in Pakistan, what would be the three ideas that might come to your mind at first? What ideas would you like to explore if you were to start your own startup?
So if I were ever to enter into it, it wouldn't be
where there's an opportunity. What areas do you see where there are opportunities and you might want to explore a startup in that space?
So I think at tech, for sure, that would be number one. I'm very passionate about education, and I think I've seen a lot of ideas online, but mine would be probably like an online school where like people could actually attend school day in, day out online. And then two projects that I'm very passionate about, and they're not tech related, unfortunately. Now everyone's talking about tech. I feel that there's a big, so my sister is autistic. Which means she's special needs and she's of a certain age. And it's been hard. So my mom didn't want to move back to Pakistan when it was time for us to move back to Pakistan because there was not a lot of opportunity for her to do stuff. So I'm actually looking out. So if there's anyone in the audience, if anyone who knows this, I definitely want to do. I want to start a center for adult special need kids where they have a place to go to and kind of see something. And the other thing I wanted to really work on is I'm passionate about helping women find a voice, especially women that have suffered with some form of abuse, whether it's harassment, whether it's abuse at the hands of their significant others. So giving women a voice. So those are two projects that I'm passionate about. But if I were to look at what the future I believe holds, I think it's
Sorry, Fatma, I lost your last sentence.
Because I see there's a gap in Pakistan. There's not a lot that I can say, oh, I look up to this ed tech company because it's doing
We've lost your video. I can hear you,
which is education technology.
Can you hear me?
Okay, it's okay. I think it's better to keep the video off. My connection is saying that it might be better to keep the video off. So I think the last sentence that I was saying was that the gap I see in Pakistan, the biggest is ed tech for right now, because I've seen a lot of ed tech companies do really well across the world and have been for the past 3 to 2 years, and especially with COVID coming around, it makes sense. And I think Noon Academy came from Saudi and opened an office here, and I think it should have been somebody internally that should have done something. So ed tech is my biggest opportunity, and the other two are passion projects. And I believe that for a founder, it should be a passion project, and that's how it will do well. So if I ever foray into it, especially
just
women.
Yeah, I noticed that. So there's a cybercrime helpline, especially for women, which is being run by Nigadat, the Digital Rights Foundation. So you might want to look that up and maybe support them
Yes.
or partner with them somewhere. So they're doing it in some way. And there's a startup, I know at least one of the startups for special needs from Nest.io in Karachi, the incubator, which was funded by Google and Samsung initially. And they have been later funded further as well. So they are scaling up. So that's also interesting. You might, I can share their name. I think I'm just forgetting their name, but yeah, they've been in the space. But yeah, thank you so much, Fatma. Really appreciate taking time out. I know we have had few technical challenges, but yeah, that's part of the game. And if there's any one thing you might want to share with the audience, especially from the challenges and opportunities perspective in tech space in Pakistan, feel free to share before we just hand it back over to Ali at ACCF.
So I think in terms of opportunities, there's a lot, but maybe I think whatever you do, just make sure that you're really passionate about it. And if you are, you'll go a long way. And tech is really the future. So if you're thinking traditional, like I've been thinking.
Sorry to interrupt you, but any thoughts on choosing the right co-founders?
That's a really good point. I think it is so important. Not only that, I think finding the right co-founder is a lot simpler, not simpler, but deciding who does what. I think I've seen people get together, get really deep into the idea, and then when it comes to assigning roles, who wants to be CEO, who wants to be something else, that is where a lot of and there's a lot of history and science behind it as well, or a lot of failures associated with this, at least since I found out in my study. So please choose the right person, choose different skill sets. I think friends could be great, and they make great co-founders, but have a role for yourself and decide early on who's going to be the CEO, who's going to be what role. And just like choosing a partner for yourself for the rest of your life, pay as much attention, if not more, to somebody that's going to be your co-founder. What are your thoughts on that, Badr?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. My learning on finding the right co-founders or having the right co-founders is that they should be complementing each other rather than from the same space. So they ideally, if you have the opportunity to kick off as friends a startup, ideally all three should not be computer science graduates. All three should not be finance or MBA or specific similar background people. Ideally, one should have finance, other should have marketing, one legal, or one could have tech background. So I think tech, marketing, finance is a very good combo if you're able to have that by any chance, and maybe add some legal or other space as well. But I think tech, marketing, and finance, if you're lucky and you have these three co-founders together as friends, I think that's a perfect kickoff for a startup and minimizes the risk of failure because all bring something to the table which is very different and unique and helps the company overall grow faster. But one last question, Fatma, I know we are already over time, but just one last quick question, very, very good question from Murtaza from the audience. So just summarizing it for you. What would it take for a Pakistani company to become a unicorn? I know we have few, like we already have now Zameen.com is valued at more than $1 billion. We may have few others at very high valuations or close to that. There are very good funding opportunities coming in and startups are raising funding. But what would it take for a Pakistani company to become a unicorn probably in the next, within 2020 or maybe sooner?
So I think, I believe that first, I would want to ask Murtaza, why the focus on becoming a unicorn?
Good point.
I think for me, I think it's one of those things that people want to do, and then maybe like they go after funding and they want to keep valuing their company. And that's fair enough. I come from 2 unicorns, so I should not be one to talk, but I think we should focus a lot more on profitability, getting good margins, getting a scalable, sustainable business in hand, rather than focusing towards this unicorn status. Unicorn status usually comes from being a hyper growth model, which means that you're not very profitable, which means that every time you raise a round, you're giving a part of your company away. So think about it. Do you really want to be a unicorn? And if you do, for Pakistan to become a unicorn, it depends on how much funding that you can get, and that will come from the country being a company, or a country being a country where people feel comfortable investing. So
I agree.
I believe some of the companies.
I'm also of the same opinion.
Yeah, but I think whatever exists right now could be unicorns. I think that we could be right now as well. It's just we need to have the right kind of policies in place and right kind of assurances that our money, investors' money is protected and the government is open to outside investments.
Thank you so much, Fatma. That's a great note, and I also totally agree that we need to be more bootstrapped so that we own the companies more rather than giving them away sooner, and then also grow them by adding value to the actual bottom line of the company and creating value for our potential customers, whoever they are, whatever the audience is, target audience is, so that we can grow the companies larger. And then, of course, as you said, for hypergrowth companies, there would be a unicorn opportunity, because then they can raise and all of that. But I agree, we should focus more on growing sustainable and profitable companies. I think that's far more required for the economy right now. I think that they go a long way than at times fast track companies. So thank you so much, Fatma. Once again, back to you, Ali, and thanks to ACCA once again for hosting us, letting us have this conversation around opportunities and sharing some of Fatma's personal experiences as well. Thank you, Fatma.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. Good questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in, and also to 108 attendees that we have. I think one thing to keep in mind is that since it's Pakistan, it's young in terms of tech space, a lot of the ideas that you can implement here in Pakistan are already been done, and they're just not here. And given the institutional voids that we have, the gap between consumers and the companies who offer products and services, there's so many gaps which are actually opportunities. And all you have to do is read up on companies that are doing amazing stuff in the healthcare abroad, in finance, in insurance. So it's just the ability to know or learn, keep on learning what are the companies that are operating here in Pakistan, what's next in the tech space, and then seeing how you can sort of be part of those tech companies like Fatma stated as finance professionals. So all machine learning, AI, everything's, it sounds interesting, but you have to be clear on what you as a finance professional needs to do to get into the tech space, because it's like Fatma stated, it's very, very
sorry, Ali,
interesting.
if I may interject.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. Just wanted to add something very important here. I think we generally don't realize that every tech company has many dimensions. Tech is only the face of it at times, but there's a business side, there's a finance, there's a legal, there's a policy, there's support, there is logistics, there is infrastructure. There are many facets to it which are not on the forefront of a tech company. But all of, even very honestly, like even in large companies, serving food meals to all employees is a big business in itself, and making sure that they're all well fed, that they have basic. I mean, so even ACCA graduates have huge opportunities, not only directly as finance graduates, but also they can pivot themselves. I think what I believe, and Fatma can probably add here, I'm sorry if I just interjected in between your conversation, but I believe that when people do cross pollination of different verticals or disciplines like accounting and computer science, or maybe accounting and data science, and accounting or HR, or I think that brings in a very good combo for organizations to, and they're inclined to look for those kind of people because these people are more diverse. These graduates are more diverse, have better understanding of different disciplines and how they interact between themselves. So I think just wanted to share my 2 cents there, which I see a lot there, because there were a lot of questions around it, which I'm sorry I didn't ask Fatma. I thought I wanted to keep it more high level focused in terms of IT sector. But I see those questions coming in, so I thought I'll just add a few from my experience as well.
No, absolutely
So,
spot on. There are a number of.
And Fatma wants to add a few
absolutely.
probably as well.
Please.
I just want to say that if you talk to anyone at Keep Trucking, they will tell you again and again that I keep saying that this company would not exist without the HR, recruitment, IT, which is pure IT, workplace and finance team. They are crucial to making sure that the tech works. And the tech part is, yes, the engineers, but there is a whole lot, like Badr said, a whole lot that's going on. And as far as data is concerned, data analytics, we have marketing analytics, we have HR analytics, we have recruitment analytics. All of these people are data people. So if you've done like something in finance and you are really good with numbers, you could be part of our HR analytics team. The cross pollination is real. It is happening. And so traditionally we thought HR was just about and hiring people is recruitment anyway, keeping people inside. But now we've got an HR analyst that's looking at numbers, that's looking at iteration, that like the trends and everything to give us what's going on. So you know what, there's a lot that you can do. Just start exploring and don't be restricted to one thing. Just be open. Be open. Unless you're a doctor, then you know, stick to being a doctor. We need a lot of those right now.
Yeah,
Sorry,
definitely,
Ali, for taking your
definitely.
time. Please go ahead.
No problem. I think I have a lot of time. It's time for a few guys that you come on board and that had a wonderful discussion on a number of areas. So guys, I think thank you for attending, and thank you Fatma, thank you Badr. There's just a small survey as soon as you close the GoToWebinar, do give in your valuable feedback. I'll share that with Fatma and Badr. So thank you guys. Thank you for joining in.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Allah Hafiz. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Allah Hafiz.